I recently started listening to this audiobook that is also, a paper book if you want to order it. It's available on Amazon. But I ordered this audiobook and have been listening to it only about, a couple hours of it. There's many hours in this audiobook. Especially for the price, it's very good, especially for what it teaches. It's even better. Now, it is by Sadhguru, and it is Inner Engineering, A Yogi's Guide to Joy. Now, when we think about joy, we think about creating it externally. And, he talks about this, so I'm just going to kind of paraphrase some of these things and my reaction to them. He talks about how we try to bring about occurrences in the external world, controlling them in such a way that we expect to produce joy within ourselves by controlling external events and trying to work externally towards joy, to creating, happiness in a relationship, to creating material wealth so that we can have the means to provide for all the material things that we desire, and we hope that this will bring us internal joy. We hope that by satisfying, these basic needs, that joy will come about. But he makes a good point when he says that human beings are in a particularly interesting position, a very heightened position compared to other animals on this planet. Human beings are in a position to where if they are full, if all our survival needs are met, we do not necessarily experience joy. Like animals. Animals, if they're full, if all their survival needs are met, if they don't feel threatened, they are in peace, they're at joy. But us human beings, just because all of these things are met, just because we have met our survival needs, it doesn't bring us peace. It doesn't bring us happiness. It doesn't bring us joy, and it certainly doesn't bring it for very long, even if we feel it at a certain spike after we've satisfied all of these things, because we have the ability to inquire about the universe, ourselves, and everything around us. So we're constantly seeking meaning, even if every survival need is satisfied. And this meaning that we're searching for, we expect to find it in an external teacher. We expect to find it in having kids, in pursuing a career and being good at it. We expect to find meaning in some external source that requires external action. But the only way to find meaning, to really get to the heart of joy and experience it for any length of time, hell, even a day, a solid day of just feeling joy, we have to not alter our external circumstances, but alter our internal circumstances. How we look at ourselves and how we look at the world. But not just those filters of how we look at things, but truly experiencing those things by altering our ability to see within. Now, if we try to take down all the barriers of that, the filters of perception that come between us and experiencing anything in the external world, it is more likely that we'll start to see that there is an internal world that makes these filters up, that creates these filters, that create our own idea of what the world is. And if we start to take apart those filters after we see them, we soon find that there isn't a boundary between us and the world. There isn't some boundary around our body or around our being, around our mind, that separates us from the external world. It is only the idea that we are separate. It is only the idea that we are a separate being working towards our own individual goals and trying towards those goals that creates this illusory boundary. And the true experience of joy happens when we no longer see the boundary between who we are within. When we gain control of the mind and are able to truly see who we are within, quiet the noise, employ the mind, but not be ruled by it, not allow it to coincidentally make things happen in our, within our emotions, with our, spirituality, with our interactions with others. When we truly control the mind and tear it apart, and we start to see that if we are employers of the mind and not ruled by it, that we can experience this state of being that doesn't separate what is mine from what is not mine. It does not separate who I am from who everybody else is. And, this state of being that I'm hinting at is samadhi. It is the experience that you are everything. It doesn't mean that you necessarily disappear. You are just everything. there aren't these boundaries, these discriminations, these factors of I'm this kind of person, I'm part of this group, this is what I look like. All of those factors are just torn away. All these factors are societal. It is what society tells us we are. Even what we study, what we try to work towards as far as career, society influences us and tells us this is the way we should go if we want to be successful. And if we follow society's definitions of success, then we soon find we are further away from really realizing internal joy. And, well, internal joy is the only kind of joy. Than if we had not taken up what everybody else wants us to do. If we had not taken up, whether it be a career, whether it be the dogma of a religion that basically dictates what we should believe and how we should spend our time, or maybe maybe we're in a really tyrannical country and tells us what to do all the time. Despite not taking up even society's recommendations. Even if we took up all these recommendations, we could still find inner joy by tearing down our experience of these tyrannical circumstances. But in a lot of countries nowadays, luckily, we have the ability to not follow what society wants us to do or tells us to do. We have the ability to search within to a much greater degree than people in the past. And a lot of our primal needs are satisfied nowadays. And we've reached a point in human history where even royalty 100 years ago wouldn't be able to afford the pleasures, the comforts, even the cleanliness and the amount of food that we have just at the click of a button. That many people who have a certain amount of money and of security in the Western world have the privilege of experiencing now. We have reached a point where a lot of people say that we are sad, that this generation is sad or more depressed because we don't have to really work for anything. We're not really pressing ourselves to work and really becoming, the great American that we should be, and putting all our efforts into, pushing towards a business, becoming a businessman, and creating economic food that others will benefit from, and other people can become businessmen. A lot of people say that we're not as driven to become successful in the economy or in our lives or raising a certain kind of family with certain values as people have been in the past because they had to in order to survive. But I say, and Sadhguru, says, and a lot of this is just covering what he already covered, and a lot of this I'm getting from him, not all of it, but a lot. That when we have all of these survival needs met, becoming human becomes something else. We start to truly become sad, not because we don't have these needs met, but because we realize that even with these needs met, we aren't satisfied with our current position. We aren't satisfied with any less than becoming one with infinity, becoming one with eternal and infinite experience and a lack of individualness. The idea of being an individual has replaced, and because of many generations past, the idea of becoming one with oneself, one's soul. So, and even the soul, we have this idea of souls being separate through the dogma of many religions, but we have replaced the idea of becoming one with ourselves through the development of human beings having to be people who worked a certain way to provide this or that for themselves and their family, and who had to believe this or that in order to fit into their society. But now we don't have those similar confines to who we are and by our society as much. And our primal needs, our hunger, our discomfort, or our feeling of security, a lot of these things have been secured in recent decades that were not secured in the past for the majority of humanity. And now some of us, not the majority of humanity, but a lot of us in the Western world, we have these securities now. So we're like, but then it comes down to the human feeling that, even though I have this stuff, I don't feel fulfilled. I don't feel one. I don't feel like I am any more free than people in the past have. And why is that? That is because even though our boundary has been pushed out and we feel more secure because we have this big space of being able to move around and have freedom and be secure in our basic needs, there is still a boundary. As Sadhguru talks about, there's still this boundary that no matter how big it is, it's still a boundary. It still hasn't been taken down. We still haven't united with our true self, our soul, which is ultimately a part of every other soul, which is behind everything. And once we tear down those last barriers and truly greet infinity and experience it whenever we want, and we might not even have a choice in it. We'll just experience infinity all the time. That's what will bring joy, not through greater security, not through following a path somebody told you to follow to greater degrees, being, a better and better Christian or a better and better even Hindu. It's not about following somebody's path that was given to you. It's not about attaining more money, which can provide greater and greater security. We will never feel free if we do that. We will just press the boundary further and further out. But if we truly decide to seek ourselves, the soul behind everything, that will unify us with everything, then we will be infinite. And joy and infinity are correlated and exactly the same. So, thank you very much for watching. I hope this has been interesting. This has just been a video about an audiobook that I've been listening to. I listened to a couple hours of it today, I think. Maybe 3 hours. And it's by Sadhguru. It's about inner engineering, a yogi's guide to joy. And I'd highly recommend it. And, I'll continue to share my thoughts about it as we go on. I've been summing up some of his ideas, maybe not the best way. I'm not Sadhguru. But I've also been adding a few of my own little things in here. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up down there. If you want to comment, ask questions, or you disagree completely, feel free to shoot it down in the comment section below, and I'll try to get to your comments. There's been a lot of them recently in my channel, so I'll try to get to them. But hey, y'all have a great day, and seek your inner self, the one that will reunite you with all other people's inner self and grant you infinity.